Hi, my name is Leilani, and in this video, I am going to be talking about homeschool portfolios. Now, I will be addressing some things that are specific to the state of Florida. However, I understand that there are a lot of you out there across the nation that want to get some ideas for homeschool portfolios because of record-keeping purposes, maybe some legal reasons. Hopefully this video is going to help you guys out, but I will be addressing some of those things in Florida specifically, and I'll let you know because I do live in Florida and I am a homeschool evaluator in Florida where I evaluate portfolios. Now, in the state of Florida, legally, you are required to maintain a homeschool portfolio for every single one of your kids and have it evaluated once a year by a homeschool evaluator. A homeschool evaluator is a certified teacher in the state of Florida, and they have to maintain a certificate in an academic subject. So that means science, math, language arts, even early elementary education. Now, it doesn't matter if your kid's in high school and they have their certificate in elementary education. It's okay. It just means that they have a certificate in an academic subject. Now, I am a certified teacher, and in this video, I'm not only going to be addressing portfolios for upper elementary and high school and middle school, but I'm also going to be looking at our early elementary students as well as students that have disabilities and special needs, some of which are unable to communicate. Now, with a homeschool portfolio evaluation, you guys have many options. And I've seen everything from a Facebook page to a website to a box to a folder. Parents, you just get super creative. Don't feel like you are, no pun intended, but boxed in with what you have to do for a portfolio. You can organize it however you want, but please, just from an evaluator speaking to you as just a favor, make it easy for me to flip through. The most popular one does seem to be a portfolio inside of a folder. Please do not feel like you have to put every single sheet of paper that your child ever wrote on for the year inside this portfolio. You don't feel like you have to rip up workbooks and stick every page in there. You just want to find the highlights. And remember, your purpose of sharing this portfolio, the goal is to show that your child made improvements throughout the year. So if that means that you are organizing it by subject area, organize it by subject area. If it means you want to organize it by date, organize it by date. It doesn't matter. Whatever you think is going to show the evaluator that your child has made improvements. Now, a lot of parents like to have the textbooks on hand for the evaluator to look through. It's helpful. It's not necessary, but that is something to keep in mind. I've also seen portfolio evaluations where they pull out a box, the workbooks are intact, and the evaluator just kind of flips through it. But once I'm just gonna stress, easier you make it for everybody, the better, but don't feel like you have to do it that way. One of the most interesting and unique evaluations I've ever done has to be when you guys do it digitally. I've seen the folders come in where each folder is organized by subject area, and I can just scroll through those folders and the pictures, and I can see all the improvements that your child has made. Another thing I've seen is Facebook pages. Now, there are a lot of parents that unschool and they may not have physical documentation. Also, the same is true for the younger kids, like the early elementary school kids and kids with disabilities. In this case, a Facebook page is a great tool because you can take pictures as you go and upload them to the Facebook page. Of course, make it private because you don't want to be public. I also know a lot of people aren't really comfortable doing Facebook, so you can make your own private website. Now, let me just kind of talk a little bit about high school versus middle school, just some ideas. Don't feel like you're boxed in. For high school, some of the things that you can do besides sharing some of their work, you could put in there a list of field trips if you have gone on some field trips. You could put scores, SAT scores, you could put test scores, you could put transcripts, you can put a list of books that they read. Now, when you get down to the early education, This is where it gets real fun, because you've got art projects, field trips, you've got science experiments, and maybe you don't want to put it online, but you do want to share those experiences. This is where the beauty of making lists on your computer and printing it out is amazing. So book lists are huge. You've got read alouds versus the child reading on their own. Just keep it. You could even do it on a notebook paper. You could type it up, or you could just leave it on a notebook paper, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Same is true with art projects. You can take pictures of them if they're super big. Take a bunch of pictures, throw it in a document, print it all up. You can write out lists for field trips, however many you want. Now, children that have disabilities, a lot of us parents do consider therapies as part of our homeschool. I know I do. I consider all of her therapies, all 9 sessions a week, plus her dance class. Her dance class is also part of homeschooling. In that case, it's really difficult for me to show an evaluator that, hey, my kid goes to therapy, why don't you just come and join us? You can't do that. Especially since the majority of her learning does take in some of her therapist office. I wouldn't say the majority, but a good chunk of it does. So what I will do is I will write out a list, a schedule. Mondays she does occupational therapy and physical therapy. Tuesdays she does speech therapy. Wednesdays she does speech therapy and swim aqua therapy. Thursday she does her dance class and her tumbling class. And Friday she does her speech therapy and sometimes occupational therapy. It's a pretty intense schedule. I write it out on a sheet of paper, and then I will also write some of the goals. I'll list some of the goals that she had at the bottom of the paper. And a lot of those goals you can actually get from the therapist. You can ask them, because most therapists will do like a 6-month evaluation, which many of you guys know. So you can get some of the goals from them that you can write out on a sheet of paper and just I would stick it in the front of your portfolio, but you can stick it wherever you want. Now, I have also had some parents where their children cannot physically write. So besides pictures and lists, it's very difficult to show that they're doing a lot of manipulatives. And sometimes in that case, bringing some of those manipulatives with you in a bag is a great show and tell for the evaluator. So for example, I would probably bring this manipulative right here, which is one we probably use almost every day. This guy right here, which has, another manipulative. We also have some puzzles. Sometimes it's just easier to pack these up and show you that I have them. And any type of board games. And then as I talk about the portfolio with the evaluator, I would pull out each of these things and do a little show and tell and explain how I use them. Now you can also write this out in a paragraph, print it up, stick it in your portfolio. It's totally okay to bring manipulatives with you to the evaluation. You can also have the child, since they're gonna be there, demonstrate how they use these things, especially if they are unable to speak. For example, you can pull this guy out and you could hand it to your child and show the evaluator how they're actually using it as a tool to help them with their fine motor skills. Now, the discussion thing sometimes throws parents off, especially when they have a child that can't talk. And like I said, there is no discrimination there with the evaluator. If your evaluator is discriminating and saying, oh, but they have to talk and they're mute, then obviously you need to find another evaluator. I always like to say the ball is in your court. You're hiring the evaluator, and if you don't like them, you have the power to fire them and get a new evaluator. Now, with the discussion part of our homeschool portfolio in the state of Florida, besides that, don't at all be intimidated by it. I've dealt with super quiet kids and super outgoing kids, and we'll say things like, what was your favorite book? What was your favorite field trip? What was your favorite thing that you did? It's just getting to know them, getting to see that they're, improving, just getting to know them, that they did the work, that they were a part of this whole homeschool process. So let me kind of share with you a little bit with my process with my kids, because it's specifically the daughter that is in kindergarten that has a disability. I shared with you some of the manipulatives that we use. I am going to probably write those in the front of the portfolio and just pick 5 of them that we use on a regular basis. And I'm also going to share any field trips that we did and books that we use repetitively in the home. And for me, with her, it's not a one-time thing with the books. It's a book that we use like over and over again. This is one of the books that we use over and over again. I would list this in the book list. I'll probably put something in parentheses like used multiple times or something like that. Of course, I'm gonna list all her therapies out and her dance class out and some of the goals listed there. But I also use a program with her called So Happy to Learn, and that one actually does have worksheets. I've thrown them in a box. That's a lot of worksheets. I'll just kind of show you a little bit of the process right now. So as you can see, I do have a pretty intensive stash of worksheets right here. And thankfully, I have dated each and every one of them with the date. I also, which I completely forgot that I did a whole book on learning without tears right here. And actually, when you look at this, you can kind of see, you know, her handwriting turned from scribbles. Like, let's look at this one right here. This one was from 12, so this is like mid-year. But you can see we're starting, now this is, I'll tell you right now, it's hand over hand. But we're starting to get better than just scribbles. Now this is on her, actually. This is not hand over hand. And she circles. And this one is actually even more recent. You can see that she's actually really trying to say her name. Her circling is getting much better. That's her trying to write her name, like she's trying to do. I also have a video that talks about the stages of writing. So if you're curious about that, you know, I'll stick it in the iCard right now, but this is actually one of the stages of writing, improving right here. She's scribbling things. And this is probably the most recent one I have. Yes, there's some hand over hand, but you can see that she's really trying to make those letters if you look closely. And what we're actually working on is much more advanced. And then I just want to show you this really quick. I do have a book that I keep where I have her practice her name, and you can see that we are just improving, and she's really trying to make these letters. So now when I go to put the portfolio together, I'm actually going to show the portfolio in date order. August 2022, September 2022, and so forth. That way they can, as they're flipping through it, they can see the progression of her improvement. So those are some ideas that I wanted to share with you. If you are, once again, interested in something that's a little more in-depth legally for the state of Florida, it's in the iCards and the end screen. I have also a whole playlist talking about portfolio evaluations. Some of the questions you guys ask me, I answer them. I'll probably jump on and do some lives as we get closer to that, like May. That seems to be when you guys like doing your evaluations at the end of the school year, so to speak. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you're into like homeschooling, learning about curriculum reviews, talking about, you know, it's on the description box below, and you can also subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.